In today's video, I want to set the record straight about Harry Potter and respond to the ways some Catholic exorcists have been spreading unnecessary fear by insisting that the books are deeply tied to occult practices, filled with demonic names, and brimming with dangerous spells. The particular exorcist in focus here is Father Chad Ripperger. Let me be clear from the outset, this is not a personal attack, but a direct response to the false claims he has been making about Harry Potter. The very first clip, Father Chad makes the extraordinary claim that J.K. Rowling attended a witch school, yet offers no corroborating evidence about it. Trenton immediately pushes back by asking the obvious questions. Let's listen.
J.K. Rowling went to witch school before she wrote the book. Okay, you walk like one, you quack like one, you write books like one, so okay.
I haven't seen anything in regards to that. She went to a regular graduate school. She studied classics, so Greek and Roman mythology and culture. You see in the book that many of the names of characters, for example, are just taken from or slightly adapted from names in Greek and Roman mythology, as well as just classic Anglo-Saxon names, Latin terms, things like that. You need to be very careful about making bold assertions about others without evidence, because that can be calumny, it can be slander. You have to be very careful. If you're going to accuse someone of being a witch, for example, or of being satanic or anything like that, well, where's your evidence to back up that assertion? And Father Ripperger simply didn't present it in his talk. And I haven't found any others. And some people said, well, if she went to witch school, she's going to hide her tracks and we're not going to be able to find it on the internet. But, okay, well, that's conspiratorial thinking. We have to follow the evidence where it leads, not speculate on where it would be salacious for it to lead.
Trent is so right here, because if you're going to make such a scandalous and provocative claim about a world-famous public figure like J.K. Rowling, then you better be prepared to produce concrete evidence, because people are going to ask questions. Instead, Father Chad tries to sidestep accountability by suggesting that since J.K. Rowling supposedly went to a witch school, there would naturally be no trace of it left behind and no details we could reasonably expect to know. But that is not simply how credibility works. If you can't provide even the most basic information, such as the name of the school, the year she allegedly attended, the location, or what was supposedly taught there, then you can't present it as fact. To do so only spreads suspicion and scandal without a shred of verifiable proof. In the next clip, Father Chad goes further, claiming that many of the spells in Harry Potter books are real, and he bases this claim on the supposed testimony of witches who themselves acknowledge their authenticity. Trenton responds by pointing out that witches do not own copyright over particular words. Let's listen.
The spells in the books are actual spells. How do we know that? Well, because witches tell us they're real. And
when you look at what are claimed to be the spells in the books, they're just broken Latin. So I think that there is a spell for hair loss, and you say calvere, well, that's just a Latin word for skull or head. Most of the spells or magical rituals, the incantations that are used, they're just broken Latin. And I think it's important.
And Trent is absolutely right here, because the vast majority of these so-called spells are nothing more than playful Latin puns or simple mashups of English words. For example, lumus comes directly from the Latin word lumen, meaning light, while expelliarmus literally translates as expel weapon. These are clever linguistic inventions, not conjurations with occult power. What makes Father Chad's claim even more unreasonable is the notion that Catholics should take the testimony of witches as reliable evidence. Since when do we accept the word of occult practitioners as trustworthy? And even beyond that, why should ordinary words be treated as if witches somehow have ownership over them? If a witch happens to use the word expel in her rituals, does that suddenly mean the rest of us can no longer use the word in literature, entertainment, or daily life? That kind of logic collapses into nonsense, because language belongs to everyone, not to occultists who hijack ordinary words for their own purposes. In the next clip, Father Chad claims that there was once a woman in Spain who supposedly attempted to use a spell and ended up burning down her entire house, a story he dramatizes as if the spell itself magically ignited the flames. Trenton calls him out after actually reading the original news story. Let's listen.
And there was a woman in Spain who decided to try the spell for fire in one of the in the books, and it burned her house to the ground.
And when you go and find the news story, it turns out she was a really big fan of Harry Potter, and she was cooking a potion from the book on her stove with oil in it, and it bubbled over, it caused a grease fire, and then it burnt her house down. That's way different from saying she uttered an incantation and magically burnt down her home. It's completely different.
That's a stretch. She was using gasoline and dynamite on her stove. She lit a match, and then she said a spell, and then she burned down her house. It was definitely the spell.
And this is where it gets outrageous. Just imagine for a moment that a Catholic exorcist, someone meant to be well reputed and entrusted with the responsibility of guiding souls, takes an ordinary news report about a woman who burned her house down because of the ingredients she was using and then twist it into a dramatic story about spells causing magical fire. How outrageous is it to manipulate a simple news story to suit your narrative and then present it as evidence for the dangers of Harry Potter? The deeper question is this: why are people who admire Father Chad and look up to him for spiritual guidance are not asking him these questions? I can't understand how a reasonable Catholic can listen to such obviously distorted account and still accept Father Chad as trustworthy authority. In the following clip, Father Chad once again makes an unfounded claim, this time stating that an exorcist told him that 60% of the names in Harry Potter are actually the names of demons cast out during exorcism. Trenton rightly responds by pointing out how deeply irresponsible it is to make such a claim.
One exorcist told me, he's kind of done the footwork, whether it's true or not, I don't know. He said 60% of the names in Harry Potter are actual names of demons that exorcists have booted out of people.
And I thought this was a very irresponsible claim for Father Ripperger to make, because unlike the claim about whether J.K. Rowling was part of a witch coven or formally studied witchcraft, this is something as a matter of public record that can be checked. You can go online. There's lots of people who love Harry Potter, so they create Harry Potter wikis that document every single little detail in the books because they're really big fans. And one of the things they document are the lists of the characters in the book. So you can just spend time, it just takes you a few minutes, and you can scroll through the names of the characters. In the podcast, Father Ripperger actually said, I don't know if this is true or not, but 60% of the names in the book are demons. And he said another exorcist told him this. So, well, if you don't know if it's true or not, you shouldn't say it. At least you could go and check. But these are the names. I mean, you have Harry Potter. Potter, of course, is a standard surname for one who makes pots in medieval Europe. There's so many that go through. The other names are those that come from, as I said earlier, Greek and Roman mythology. Daedalus, for example. Morphin is derived from Morpheus. Others are constellations like Bellatrix. There's nothing demonic about this. And even if they happen to coincide with the name of a demon, just because a demon picks a name doesn't mean he gets to own that thing. But I'm not familiar with any of the names there corresponding to a commonly known demonic name.
What I want to stress here is this. When Father Chad openly admits that he doesn't even know whether the claim is true or not, he has no business presenting it as though it were an established fact. A Catholic priest should not in good conscience pass along hearsay as though it carried the weight of truth, especially when doing so only creates fear and false guilt in the faithful. To see how irresponsible this is, imagine a doctor walking into a hospital ward and telling his patients, I don't know if the medicine is harmful, but someone told me it might kill you, so better throw it away. Would any of us trust such a doctor with our health? Of course not. We would demand evidence, accountability, and clear proof before taking his advice. And this is why I cannot with good conscience accept Father Chad as a trustworthy authority on Harry Potter. Anyone who repeats second-hand rumors as though they were established truth loses credibility the moment he does so. Finally, in the last clip, Trent addresses one of Father Chad's most astonishing statements, along with similar claims made by other exorcists, namely, the demons confronted during exorcism allegedly revealed that Harry Potter is the gateway into occult practices. Let's listen.
Yeah, I think what I would say here is that why would I trust the word of a demon? It's so interesting. It's like if a demon came to me and said, hey, I'm a demon from hell, and to protect your kids, don't let them read Harry Potter, and he just disappeared. I think this is the strangest thing ever. like, why does he care about my well-being? Why should I trust him? Or think that, oh, well, there's a way in an exorcism where you can make a demon tell the truth, or I don't know. It all seems very suspect to me. That just the same, it could just be that one tool of demons is to make people despair and feel like religion is a heavy burden, and it always constricts their joy, and it gives them scruples, and it makes them weary because they always are worried about doing the wrong thing, and setting them up to one day just abandon religion because they don't want to follow these heavy burdens that God never intended for them to follow in the first place. So for me, it's just, I don't see any reason to trust what a demon has to say. I would just say that when an exorcist says, I've heard in exorcisms, I've seen elements related to this material, whatever it may be, that tells me, okay, proceed with caution.
Now think about this carefully. Since when have Catholics taken the words of demons as reliable testimony? Demons are, by their very nature, liars, deceivers, and manipulators. Even if such a claim were made in the heat of an exorcism, the idea that their testimony should be taken at face value and then used as the basis for Catholic teaching is not only bizarre, but dangerously irresponsible. To give weight to the father of lies over the discernment of the church is to turn reason and faith upside down. And yet, astonishingly, there are still people who latch on to this argument saying, oh, well, a demon said it, so it must be true, as though the word of the demon should carry authority. Can you think of anything stranger, more self-defeating, and more reckless than that? Well, in conclusion, let me say this as clearly as I can. This is not a personal attack, but a sincere and necessary effort to cut through the noise and bring clarity, to expose and dispel the fear and guilt that so many Catholics have been burdened with because of the fear-based propaganda spread by Father Chad Ripperger. Enough is enough. Our faith is built on truth, not fear. I hope this video is helpful. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. God bless you.